Hi, I'm Vicki Hoth, Education Coordinator for Handi Quilter, and I'm doing this series to present the new features of the HQ Pro Stitcher being released June of 2013. This feature that I'd like to show is how to bring in multiple designs, create your border with the corner, the border, and the corner, save it all as a project or as a complete design. So I've created my area from my quilt. And it doesn't matter that this is crooked down here or that this is shorter or longer than this side. All I need to know is the space, the distance between here, where the area is on the quilt here, and also this area. So this doesn't matter. I just needed, that area. So the design that I want to bring in, going to my recent because I've had this on here, is the tulip corner. Now I want to orient that to this corner. We're going to work in this corner. So the first thing I'll do is rotate it so that it'll work in that corner. Then I'm going to skew and align, and I want to align it to this wall and to this wall of the corner. So with this button, I'm going to press, and it aligns it to that wall, and it holds it on that wall. I want to align it now to this wall, so that would be my vertical top. And now you can see that it's aligned, but it is not the right size. So I go to resize, and I want to move this end point up here and this start point here. Now, if everything is in a perfect world, and this was perfectly designed, and the quilt was perfect, then I could just lock aspect and resize the proportion and it would go in there. But not always are we in a perfect world. So we're going to base everything off of putting the start and end points along this line. So I'm going to turn off the lock and I'm going to work one at a time. So the width, I'm going to make it smaller so that it goes right to that area. Then I will use the height and make that smaller so that it goes right up to that line. Okay, now we're ready to take this design and place it over here. It's still, the quilts are not always perfect, so we may have to still do some resizing, but I can at least start with that. So I can go to File, and I can duplicate this design that I have already created and resized. And now I can take it and rotate it. And now it's time to place it. So I want to align it to the top wall and to the right side. So to the right side and to the top. And it looks like my world is not perfect because it's just a little bit larger. So if I go to resize, I need to make my width just a little bit smaller. And now it's fitting right within that. It is staying right with the wall, the outside area, and it fits there. Now I have this area to put my border. So I'm going to File, and I'm going to open the file and go to Continuous Line and find the tulip border that goes with this. And there's my tulip border, and I am going to press drag, and I can drag that up there. I can actually, let's just place it over the top of here and do some resizing so you can totally see. And we'll zoom in on that area. Let's drop it right there. And then we're going to zoom in on that area. So I'm going to bring my crosshair up to that area, press the zoom, and follow. So it will follow my crosshair as I zoom in. So I can see this. And then I can go to my resize, because I want to resize the height to this gray tulip. So we're going to work with our height and make this smaller. And obviously it's too wide, so we can make it a little narrower, but we'll still have to do some resizing there as well. Then I'm going to drag this up and see how it works. Height-wise, right there's the height. It could be a little smaller, but you know, I think I'm going to like it just like it is. I think we're okay. Now, let's refresh this back out, and let's move that out of the way. What I want to do now is I want to find the width from this point to this point so that I can create these and make it the right size. So what I'm going to do is move, let's drop that so it doesn't move it, and I'm going to zoom in with my follow on so it'll follow where I'm zooming in at, and then I'm going to, well, let's leave that follow on. I'm going to go right to that point. And if I want to, I can move up on that point as well, so my crosshair is perfect. And sometimes I find that I like to move a little bit before it and have those stitches overlap. So I'm going to measure. Turn on my ruler, and I'm going to measure the width all the way over to where my other tulip on my right side, the tulip corner. So you can see right now, whoops, we went a little bit too far, and it's right here. I'm going to go over just a little bit, 10.17. So we'll remember that, and as we go up to repeat this, let's refresh this so we can see it. We're going to start adding tulips. And maybe 4 will go in there. We can even drag that up and look how that looks good. Now, we don't know if it fits exactly, but I can, with this group, which I have, and it's a repeat of that group. You can see the R that tells me it's a repeat. I can go into resize and resize that width to 10.17. Whoops, we forgot the point. So let's do that again. 10 with the decimal, 17, and enter that. So that has resized that to that size. Now I noticed that there was a little bit, this tulip corner is a little lower than this tulip corner. So I need to do a little rotation of this border to make this work with this. So I'm going to move back over, and let's zoom in and follow that so I can see where I'm going. I want to be able to get those points. I'm going to move over. Let's select, let's drag this away a little bit so for a minute. Okay. I want my crosshair to be right there. And I'm going to rotation, and I'm going to press the 2-point. Let's turn off our ruler. 2-point rotation. I'm going to turn that off, or press that, and then I'm going to move all the way over, and we'll let it follow us as we move over. And we'll find this area of that point of the tulip and define it, and 2-point rotation. Did you see how that moved? It found that rotation for me, and now if I just leave that right there, go to my reposition and press endpoint, it positioned it as well for me. So let's roll it over and let's look and see if I'm positioned and everything is lined up. Yes, it is. There we are. We are lined up and we're ready to quilt. Now, go to select, and we can select it all. And is my order right? It doesn't look like I've got this ordered right. So if I look at the stitch order, my tulip corner is the right one, but it says tulip corner again. That means I'm going to stitch this, then it's going to hop over and stitch this, and then it's going to hop back and stitch this, and that's not what I want it to do. So what I want to do is take this tulip corner and I want to move it down. Now, as I stitch, you can see it goes red, that's the first area, the second, and the third. So it's in the correct order as it goes around. Now I can save this. If I decide, I can save it as a group. So we can go in and save it either as a group, and we can name that group. So this is, right now, it's group 15, but I can actually name that, and let's move this so we can see. We're going to name this Tulip Border number 3. And the only reason I'm doing that is because I already have one in there and I'm not sure what I named it. So we want to make sure that we have this tulip border. Okay, now I have tulip border. So if I decide I want to save this as this group or as a project, so we're going to go into File, we're going to Save. Now as we save this, we're going to call it Tulip Border 3. I've already named it, but right now you can see HQP. That means it's a project. As a project, I can go back in and change things and remanipulate and that, and each design is still individual. If I saved it as a design, this button, it would save as one design and I couldn't break it apart. So you have a choice which way you want to save it. If you want to save it as a project, if we change this, it will change as it will be saved as an HQF as a design in my in one of my files. Okay, so let's go ahead and save this. Let's say, no, I'm fine with, no, I want to save it as a project, because if I save it as a project, I can use this very same one at the bottom of my quilt and manipulate things to make things work. So each one is there, but I can still adjust each unit of that. So I'm going to save that, and we can actually go into our file, and since I saved it in continuous, we'll have to scroll down and find it, and it will be in the T's because we named it Tulip Border. There it is. See, I had already saved one, but this is Tulip Border 3. That's the one I saved. It comes in and looks purple. If I click on it, it goes green. Okay, so we can, I'm just going to go ahead and cancel that because here we have our design. And if you are not sure how it's going to quilt out, you can always go to your new start end and watch it quilt out here. And there it stitches out. Now the one thing you want to make sure of is where these join up, they need to join up so that they're close enough that they will join up without any space between, and it won't do a jump. We don't want to have a jump there. So ideally you want them to be right on top of each other and so that they work. I think on this one we actually made it so that it stitched a little bit before it, so it may have backed up and done the tulip and then it continued. As you see the black dot here, let's zoom in on that, see if you can see it. Let's turn that follow off though. Let's zoom in on this with my, and you can see these are joined pretty close. This one has the black dot saying that they are joined and there will not be a jump. Let's see if, let's go, and we've selected this. Let's see if we can go to repeat, and you notice there's a point to point. Where's our repeat? There. There's a point to point that we usually always push to press things together. At this time, these, if we press, it's grayed out, so we can't press the point to make those work. If they're close enough, they will automatically be point to point and they will not stitch or do a jump. So this is a nice design. Think about the possibilities of bringing in your multiple designs, your corners. You know, if you wanted to do a design that had elephant and a giraffe and all of these different designs, and you can make a whole little zoo quilt with all these designs, and you can stitch them out continuously across. So enjoy using this feature.